Did you know that the average child spends over 4 hours a day staring at screens? That's more than the time they spend sleeping. According to a study by Common Sense Media, kids aged 8 to 12 now spend more time on screens than they do playing outside or reading. And here's a shocker. Experts say that kids who spend more than 2 hours a day on screens are at risk for serious problems like sleep issues, trouble focusing, and even delays in language development. But it's not all bad news. What if you could use screen time to your advantage? In this video, we'll uncover the truth about screens and young kids. We'll show you how to avoid the common pitfalls while using screen time as a tool to support your child's learning and growth. From understanding what screens really do to your child's brain to practical tips on how to make screen time work for you, this guide is packed with expert advice. Stick around to discover how small changes can lead to big improvements in your child's well-being. You don't want to miss this. Chapter 1. The Hidden Impact. What screens really do to your child's brain. We often hear about the harmful effects of screen time, but what does it actually do to a child's brain? Studies show that excessive screen time can affect the development of young children's attention and cognitive skills. In fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, warns that kids under 2 should have 0 screen time, and for older children, it should be limited to 1 hour per day. Screens are designed to grab attention, but that constant stimulation can lead to attention issues down the road. Neuroscientist Dr. Dimitri Christakis says that overexposure to screens can make children less able to focus and more prone to impulsivity. A unique piece of research from the University of California found that kids who spend more time on screens are more likely to show signs of delayed language development. This is because screen time often replaces valuable face-to-face interaction, which is critical for building language skills. The brain needs real-world experiences to thrive, and screens don't provide that. Limiting screen time allows the brain to develop connections that foster creativity and problem-solving skills. So, what can you do? Experts recommend encouraging hands-on play, activities like building blocks or drawing, over passive screen time. Chapter 2. The Myth of Educational Apps. Are they actually helping? It's tempting to believe that educational apps are helping our kids learn. However, the reality might be different. Research shows that many so-called educational apps are little more than interactive distractions. Dr. Jenny Radesky, a pediatrician and researcher at the University of Michigan, argues that most apps do not promote deep learning or emotional engagement. Instead, they're designed to entertain, not educate. A study by the Joan Ganz Cooney Center found that most apps marketed as educational are not effective at developing skills like reading or math. They often focus on short-term entertainment rather than critical thinking. For example, a game that rewards kids with stars or points for quick responses might boost their confidence, but it doesn't help them think through problems or understand concepts deeply. The key here is moderation and purpose. If you're using apps, make sure they're designed to promote active learning and that you're engaging with your child while they use the app. Sit down together and ask questions about what they're learning. Apps should be supplements, not replacements, for real-world interactions and activities. Chapter 3. Why screen time feels like an unstoppable tsunami, and how to stop it. We all know how easy it is for screen time to spiral out of control. One episode turns into 2, then 3, and before you know it, hours have passed. A survey from Common Sense Media found that kids aged 8-12 spend an average of 4 hours a day on screens, not counting schoolwork. This can quickly feel like an overwhelming tsunami that's hard to stop. The first step in taking control is setting clear, consistent boundaries. The AAP suggests using the 30-minute rule, no more than 30 minutes of screen time for younger children per day. For older kids, set daily or weekly limits based on your family's needs. But it's not just about limiting time, it's about creating a schedule that promotes balance. Make time for outdoor play, family meals, or creative hobbies. One powerful strategy is to make screens off-limits in certain areas of the house, like the dining room or bedrooms. This can help eliminate distractions during key family moments and encourage healthier habits. A study from the University of Michigan also found that kids whose families have set screen time limits are less likely to show signs of screen addiction. Chapter 4. Sleep Saboteurs. How screens are stealing your child's rest. Here's something you may not have known. Screens could be stealing your child's sleep. A study from the National Sleep Foundation found that kids who use screens within an hour of bedtime are 40% more likely to have trouble falling asleep. This is due to blue light emitted by screens, which interferes with the body's production of melatonin, the hormone responsible for sleep. The best solution is to establish a screen-free zone in the hour before bed. Experts suggest reading a book, telling stories, or doing other quiet activities that promote relaxation. Additionally, limiting screen time during the day can help children become naturally tired by bedtime. It's also important to model good sleep habits yourself. According to sleep expert Dr. Chris Winter, parents who limit their own screen use at night can have a big influence on their child's habits. Even a small change, like putting phones and tablets out of reach at bedtime, can make a huge difference in your child's ability to sleep soundly through the night. Encourage family bedtime routines, and make it a peaceful, screen-free environment where kids can wind down. Chapter 5. Social Skills versus Social Media. The real cost of virtual playdates. In today's world, many kids socialize online through virtual playdates. While this may seem like a harmless way to interact, it can actually affect how kids develop social skills. According to Dr. Sherry Turkle, a professor at MIT and author of Reclaiming Conversation, technology is replacing face-to-face communication, which is crucial for building empathy and understanding nonverbal cues. When children interact online, they miss out on learning the subtle social signals that happen in real-life conversations. A study from the American Psychological Association found that children who spend too much time on digital devices may struggle with emotional regulation, leading to problems with empathy and connection. They may find it harder to understand when their peers are upset, or how to respond appropriately. If your child is having virtual playdates, make sure to balance it with in-person interactions. Encourage activities like team sports, group art projects, or playdates in the park to help them develop their social skills in the real world. It's important for kids to practice reading body language, maintaining eye contact, and learning how to express themselves without screens. Chapter 6. Turning the Tables. How to use screen time as a parenting tool, without guilt. It's not all bad news. Screens can actually be a helpful tool for parents when used mindfully. Educational apps, for example, can be used to reinforce lessons your child is learning at school. According to Dr. Catherine Steiner-Adair, a clinical psychologist and author of The Big Disconnect, if you use screen time intentionally, it can help build skills like creativity and problem-solving. The key is to make sure your child is actively engaging with content rather than just passively watching. Ask questions about what they're learning. What did you like most about that video? Why? This turns screen time into a productive, learning opportunity. For older kids, consider using screens for family activities like cooking tutorials, DIY projects, or virtual museum tours. This way, screen time becomes a bonding experience rather than a solitary one. Remember, it's not about eliminating screens entirely, it's about using them in a balanced, thoughtful way that enhances your child's development. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned for more tips on how to raise happy, healthy kids in a digital world.